Hello and welcome to episode 27, I believe, of the Plot Twist podcast. My name is Catherine. I'm coming to you from the north of Germany, which is where I live with my husband and our three kids in the countryside on an old farm that we just moved into a few months ago. And we're hanging in there waiting for spring. The first flowers are peeking out already, so that is super exciting because it's the first real flowers and the first garden ever that we own. And also because it means it can't be long. I mean, I am here for winter. I love it. I love winter, but I'm very excited for spring because because you cannot help but be, and also because it is so fun to go through those first seasons or through every season for the first time in our new home. So that is very exciting. Anyways, this is a slow fashion podcast focusing primarily on knitting, and that's, I'm assuming, what you're here for today. And that's also what I brought. Okay, I have been, so a little preamble to my first finished object. And if you've watched the last podcast episode, you will know what that is. And I'm super excited about it. But a little sort of preamble to all of this is I have been sick and like really ill in a way that I hadn't been in a very long time. So that I really had to be in bed for about a week. And I felt so destroyed, so bad that I couldn't really even knit. I mean, I picked up my knitting maybe on days 6 and 7 during that week. And as for the rest, I mostly slept or listened to podcasts, which I'm going to talk about later. And that was that. And I complained about how bad I felt. But it really hit me hard. I think I got a children's illness that I caught at our kindergarten, even though my daughter did not, interestingly. But that's what kids often do, right? They pick something up, pass it on to the parents, but they don't even cough once. And it hit me really hard. So anyway, I'm not here to complain about my illness, but that's why my finished object is not much further along, kind of, than when you last saw it. I'm talking about the sea glass tee to sort of take away that tension. I knit this. I hope you can really see that. This t-shirt, but like this piece of knitwear with short sleeves. It's not a t-shirt because it's too heavy for that. But look at how beautifully drapey it is. This is all pre-wash, pre-blocking or soaking because of the sickness. So I really haven't, sorry, been able to finish this off like I wanted to. Oh goodness, who's the designer now? Woolen Pine. I think Woolen Pine, because last time I couldn't remember and I looked it up, is the designer of this beautiful sea glass tee. Last time I talked about how absolutely and madly in love I was with this project. I picked it up as a long-term whip, sort of as a hibernating work in progress, because I was not sure about the size, and then I thought this is ridiculous, so try it on and either finish it or frog it. And I don't know what I was insecure about, because I think the size is just right. It is oversized, but just the way that I would like it to be. So I think it was just so like scrunched up on my needles, and I couldn't really tell, and then I put it on other needles and put it on, but I had just knit initially just to where I separated for the sleeves. So that's kind of a weird point to try it on, because you can tell whether the sleeves are okay, but it's hard to say like how much positive ease you really have, because it's, even if you put this thing on cords and stuff, it's just at a position or at a phase in that garment knitting that is hard to really say, I think. So I knit on a bit more, and then I tried it on and I thought, okay, perfect. That's just what I want. And this is, well, I used I knit the version where you have like one color going throughout. So that would be this color right here, right? This light pink. And then, because this is a 1x1 color work pattern, the other color would change every round, right? And so I went for a palette of pinks. I mean, there's a little bit of blue in here and obviously purple, but like that was sort of my, the little stash of minis and leftovers that I assembled to work in here. So the main color is called Nurture, and it's hand dyed by Homespun House, and I used almost exactly 150 grams. And I decided, that's also what I debated last time, so sorry for being redundant if you've watched last week's episode. I debated going for long sleeves, but I did run out of yarn just, you know, I used up almost exactly 150 grams for this, and I had a 100 grams skein and a 50 grams skein, so it's not like I have leftovers now. And I thought, no, I'm not going to order another 100 grams of the yarn to like knit the sleeves long. I'm just going to wear it as it is now for during spring, or maybe even now, but now it could, well, there are days when I could wear this. So all I have to do is weave in all the ends and give it a soak. But I'm just going to try it with short sleeves and like a long sleeve underneath, and then see how I like that, and determine whether I want to go back and add long sleeves, because then I can always do that and I can still order that yarn, it's not going anywhere. Or also, like, I also want to determine how I want to go forward if I were to knit another one of these, because this seems like a perfect scrappy project to always have on the needles, or also to gather yarn for and then, you know, cast that on. And I just wanted to know which option, like long sleeve or short sleeve, I like better, or whether it might be cool to have one of each. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna hold it up close. Look at that. I think my gauge changed a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. That is what happens when things languish for too long. But just look at that. I don't know if I'm holding it too close to the camera, but I think it's just such a beautiful fabric that came out, if I do say so myself. And yes, this is the truth, you know, behind all the beauty. So this is what happens when you change colors every round. And this is what I still have to weave in. And I wanted to be done with that by now. But just when it was time to sit down and, you know, start doing that, because after I bound off, I gave myself 2 days, maybe 3, I don't know, to just knit on something else in the evenings and sort of, I don't know, as a sort of palette cleanser after this project that I was really involved in, because it really had my heart, you know, and I had to just calm down for a second after binding off. And then I got sick, so then I felt ill. So I never got around to weaving in those ends, because then the thing is, obviously, I have 3 children. The youngest of whom is 3, the oldest is 8. And so it was sort of bound to happen that the minute I was back on my feet, but as in back on my feet, not, you know, back to my strength, but just able to drive the kids to school and back home, right? Which is a 5-minute affair. But that moment, one of my kids was obviously bound to get ill as well, and that's what happened. So I had my little daughter home, and that was okay. And it's so fun to have her home, you know. And it wasn't like she was super sick, but she was, I mean, she was just, I don't know, she just had no energy at all, and she had to be home and cozy up and just be home and play and not be someplace else. So that was all fine, but that meant that I had 0 time to sort of relax and just give myself a breather and just be for a minute, to regain energy. And why am I telling you this? Oh, that's why I slowly got back into a routine with everything, and why I just could not muster up the courage or the strength or the just get over myself to start weaving in those ends. So I'm going to do this, and soon, because I absolutely want to wear this, as soon as I can. And I think weather permitting, or I think the weather situation kind of is developing in such a way that I can wear this soon. Right. So I need to get my act together, but that's just what's been holding me up. So again, take a look at this beauty. I think it's just such amazing colors. Oh yeah, last time I had to go back on the hem because I knitted Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, and it was just, it flared out. So I just went with a regular bind off. Knit one, knit the other, pull one over, right? That's what I did. And that worked very well. And that's also what I did for the sleeves, and they're still stretchy enough, and 0 ends are woven in. So next time, maybe next time I can wear this, and then you're gonna see it in action. Oh, apropos, I am wearing my, you will have guessed it, what's it called? My Wool and Honey sweater, designed by Andrea Mowry, knit out of Brooklyn Tweed Loft. A favorite, an absolute favorite of mine. The only thing is you have to be able to be careful not to insert your finger and pull, because this is what's it called, woolen spun, so it comes apart very easily. And that's what happened on one of the first days that I wore this sweater, quite a handful of weeks ago, or months. So I had to mend that. It was not a situation where you could spit splice it. I tried many times and it wouldn't work. But I think I mended it in such a way that you can't really tell, or to be honest, not even I just really remember where that was. But with kids, you have to be careful, because they will, kids poke their finger in your lace knitting the second you have like a lace piece on, right? And with this, you really need to be careful that they don't pull on those strings. That's all I'm saying. But it's a beautiful sweater. I would love to knit another. And I've actually talked about this to my husband yesterday or the day before, that I'm going back and forth in my mind about which colorway, because I would like to have this sweater in like a very rich dark green, like a sort of blue green, right? That would look so good. Not quite teal, but still green, but like a real rich green. But I think this pattern isn't really one for very dark colors. So I'm still thinking of a vibrant color, dark but vibrant, but still, like, it's not exactly what this pattern is made for, I think, because I think this should be knit in like a really, like actually in a gold color, like in a real, today you would say mustard yellow, or like honey yellow kind of thing, something that is just gold and just radiates, and it's just such a happy color. But I don't think I can pull that off. And it's a weird pattern to like set off the color in a different colorway, because I don't think that looks nice. If you like were to choose like a darker blue and then go into that yellow, it would all look weird. And really going back and forth and back and forth. And I obviously I could go for like a light pink sort of situation, like with the sea glass, but honeycombs, that it doesn't convince me, and I don't really know what to do. And a light gray is just going to wash me out. And white would work, but I'm kind of on the fence about white sweaters, because I will have to wash them every other day. So I really don't know what to do. That is just an aside. That's just what I'm obsessing about, which color to knit the sweater in next. And the one that I want, I think is just really not going to look good on me. But okay, that's life, right? If that's my only problem, I don't really have any problems, do I? Okay, I'm gonna take a sip and then I'm going to talk about my singular work in progress. And fun fact, my palette cleanser project turned out to be what I kept knitting on. Because so there I was on the couch, not in bed anymore, but not feeling well at all because I had really severe issues that would not go away. I'm going to spare you the details, but it was really bad. I was really in pain, so much that I cried about it every day, several times. And I didn't know what to do. And so I listened to a podcast. Again, I'm going to tell you which one it was later because it's brilliant. And tried to just knit on something so that I could take my mind off of my misery for a moment. Sorry for being so dramatic and also cryptic, but I don't want to talk about illness. But it's like I really didn't feel well and I knit at a snail's pace, but I did knit. And I thought, I want to do something, you know, after a few days when you've just been in bed and you've just been feeling ill, or you have been ill and been feeling like you can do nothing, really. You want to do something and accomplish something and just give your hands or your mind something to do. And so I pulled out an old, I'm mid-row. I'm gonna take care of that. I pulled out an old work in progress because luckily I have my huge knitting basket with all sorts of whips and half-finished sock projects and whatnot next to the couch. But I have to say, this bucket or this, basket, bucket situation has gotten a lot better over the last few weeks or months. Not that it's bad to have many works in progress. You can have as many as you want. But they started to be in the way because we're still living on a construction site, kind of. We're in the middle of renovating this house, so we only have a few rooms that we can actually live in, and everything has to be squeezed in here, or things just really remain in boxes, right? So we only took out those things that we absolutely needed for now. And of course, this knitting basket was among those items. But it kept overflowing and it was just not a good situation. And I didn't want that for too long. So I kept just finishing a few things. And it's amazing how if you take one thing out and monogamously work on it to finish it, how this bucket empties step by step. But now I can really tell. And I keep looking over there because that's where it is. And yeah, so I pulled this bad boy out and knit on that and thought, oh, this is garter. I'm going to show you everything and talk about it when I will have finished this row. Oh my goodness. And I thought this might not hold my attention for too long, but it doesn't matter. I'm just going to knit on it. It's just plain knitting. It has been up until now. Again, I'm going to show you in a second. But so of course you've caught me on the row that takes the longest to finish, but okay. Now I remember thinking yesterday night when I put this down, I need to finish this row before I sit down and podcast. That did not work out too well, did it? So I pulled it out, I worked on it, it was good for that moment. I was a super slow knitter, but I really didn't care. And then it went like that for a few days until I thought, oh, I've made a decent amount of progress. If I put this down now, that's what I thought, I might just not pick it up again because it's just rows getting longer and longer and longer, as shawls do. Shawl projects do, right? And I thought, I'm not gonna really feel very motivated to take that on again but if I just kept going, and it started being really fun too. Now I really enjoy that project. I might really have it off the needles in a matter of like 2 weeks. Oh, that's what I thought. And that's also how it's going to work out. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to keep going and just be very happy in the end that I have another item off my needles, and one that I started as a sort of, not stash buster, but to use up some very old stash. I think even my oldest that I have. And I wouldn't have known what to do with otherwise. If you've been here for a while, and if you've watched several podcast episodes or like those from last year, you might even now know what I'm talking about, because this is my old alpaca yarn. Beautiful, an absolute dream, that I've pulled out and knit another shawl with, and you may remember that one. It's here. I'm going to show you in a bit because there is an issue with that one, but I'm going to talk about that when I show you the other shawl. Hold on, what is happening here? Why can't I knit those two together? I'm in a yarn over, knit two together, yarn over, knit two together kind of spot, which is why it takes so long. Okay, this is an alpaca yarn that I bought when my oldest son was very little, so it may well have been 8 years ago. And by mistake, I bought way too many balls of yarn. It was surprisingly inexpensive, and it's it's called Fair Alpaca. I'm going to show you the ball band in a minute, and it's like eco certified and whatnot. It's undyed, from Germany, I think, and it came very cheap. I think I paid $30 for like 12 balls, something like that. I think one ball is 50 grams. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's how the misunderstanding came to be, that I didn't realize how much yarn I actually ordered. And then for some reason I didn't send it back, probably because it was so lovely. And absolutely, like, so soft. I don't think I've ever knit anything this soft. I don't think I ever touched anything this soft. It's amazing. And so, yeah, well, I kept it, but then I never really knew what to do with that. And I knit like the odd baby hat and stuff, perfect for that as well. We really used that a lot. The one that I remember now, we used that quite a lot for 2 of our kids. But, and then sometime last year I pulled out this this yarn and thought, I'm either going to destash it, done, or I'm going to do something with that. And so I did something with that. And I knit the other shawl that I'm going to show you, but first I'm going to show you this, because now I can't ignore, please ignore the dangly bits on the front. There's only like 3 spots or something where the yarn, oh man, pokes out, that I'm gonna have to pull through to the back and then weave in, because I had to change color, and now I have to manage this thing. Figure out how to show you what I have been doing here, what I've been knitting up. So this is it. I'm going to show you and then explain. Oh, it's going to be hard showing you because you cannot really see. So let me crumple this up a bit. And crumple, wrong word, but so there you go. That's where I cast on. That's the little tip where I cast on, and that's the entire thing now. Maybe you can get an idea. So this is obviously knit at a bias. So you start at this little tip, right? And then I increase on every right side row, and I don't on the wrong side. And it's just knit, 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 and that's the shawl, right? So you increase at the beginning, no, on every right side, you don't increase when knitting back, and that's how you end up with this triangle. Believe me, it is a triangle. You cannot really tell now, but this is one tip, that's the other, and this is going to be the third, okay? Here. It's hard to see now, again, because of the cord that is not long enough, so it's really scrunched up, but I cannot deal with cords that are too long. They drive me up the wall. So I always have my stuff really crunched up. I would like for it to be, well, in a couple of rows, it is going to be a bit tighter yet, so there is going to be close to no maneuvering of fabric. And that's exactly how I enjoy, you know, knitting. But what I did is, I'm going to show you the ball band. So this is the, yeah, it's a 50-gram ball. I'm gonna have to count how many I used for this. I want to say 4 or 5, but some of them were partial. So that's the yarn. I hope you can see that. Undyed baby alpaca DK weight. And to pair with that, I bought this beautiful dark green alpaca. This is, I now cut off the green. I'm now into a white section. I'm going to explain. And that's what I have left. So I used 2 balls of alpaca yarn because it's just very fine. Fingering weight, even thinner, which I didn't realize when I bought that, because I obviously bought this much later, especially for this project, but I didn't realize I was going to be this thin of a yarn when placed next to the DK weight. So this is not quite a DK when you hold it double, but I think it works out in my favor because it does create a bit of texture. Maybe you can see me, hold it up like that, where the white parts are just denser, right? And also, like, when you look from the side, you see how there are tiny little, I hope you can see, just how there are little indentations where it goes in, right? And the white is a bit more plump and comes out, and the green is just a bit airier. Also, when you look through that, maybe you can see how the white fills up the spaces just more than the green does, right? Again, I hope you can see all of this, but if not, just take my word for it. That's how it looks. And I really like that it has this tiny little bit of structure to it. I mean, it's not a lot, right? But it's just adds a little bit of interest, I think. And it made me feel very good about my yarn choice, despite it all. So despite the initial, oh, this is thinner yarn, and then, oh, this might look nice, and it did. So this is Sandnesgarn, alpaca, whatever this is called, Folgetråd, I don't know, something like that. Again, I hope you could see. And the color is 7281. Beautiful, a beautiful dark green. Like a very blue green. Perfect. Okay, so that is the one yarn, and I used up those 2 balls almost entirely. This would have given me another sequence of, you know, 2 garter ridges, but not much more. So I never weighed, but I just eyeballed it. But I stopped here because I went from 1 by 1, so 1 garter ridge in white, 1 in green, until I thought now I might, you know, go for the 2 by 2, because I knew I was going to do that because I did it on my other shawl, which I'm going to show you. So then I went for the 2 garter ridges by 2 garter ridges section, right? And I wanted to keep 2 of the balls for the last section, which is going to be only white. And that is going to be a lace section, but like really easy. Like I said, so I'm going to knit 1 garter ridge and then knit 2 together, yarn over. to the end of row while still increasing, right? On every right side round, you have to do that. Row, not round. And I'm at the point where I just did the yarn overs, but I haven't gone back. So what you just saw me knitting was the right side. So you cannot really tell here what this is going to look like. I'm going to show you though on the other. But what I think is going to happen is that it's going to give me about like this much of lace section, and it's always going to be, hold on, one garter ridge. No, did I do it wrong now? Oh, I did 2 garter ridges. Oh man, I have to go back because that's really what I wanted. 2 garter ridges, and then the lace, 2 lace rows, and those together, what will then be 6 rows will add up to be about the height of 2 white garter ridges and 2 green ones, so that you kind of double the sequence from here to here, and then you're going to double it from this one to the white one. Yeah, I'm going to have to do that. That's why it looked a little weird. Do you ever have that where you're like, oh, okay, I don't know, but whatever, keep going? Okay, so I'm gonna have to go back this one row, but it doesn't matter. And then when I started knitting on the couch when I was ill, and I just thought, like I said, I'm just gonna do that for now. I wanted to motivate myself to get out of this slump that the illness had gotten me into, and put a marker, what's it called? A progress keeper on here. So at the end of like 1 to 3 days, I would be able to say I knit like 10 centimeters on the shawl and feel good about myself, that I wasn't just, waiting for my symptoms to get better, but really that I had done something else after days of not knitting, because that bothered me, that I was so schlup, that I was just so, I don't know, without any energy at all, that I couldn't even knit. And that, you know that feeling. Every knitter knows that feeling. That this is really a warning sign if you're so done and so destroyed by your illness that you cannot even knit, right? This is not a nice feeling. And I put on, the one that I had at hand was a little Christmas tree, which now, as we're talking about spring, hold on, turn over, is kind of wrong season, but stop. A little Christmas tree I put on here, and that is actually how far I have knit. So it's quite a bit, considering that the rows get longer and longer. And also I feel like it's not that much considering how much time went by. But I will be super happy to have this off my needles and be able to put it on, because it's going to be a dream. This is so soft. Also, the other alpaca, the green, is really soft. It's not as much of a fluff as the other, but oh my goodness, this is going to be so amazing. Try. This is going to be so amazing. You're not gonna, this is so soft. You really want like a really soft alpaca shawl to wrap around your neck, and this is going to be so amazing. I can already see my daughter stealing this from me, because that's what she does with my shawls, and then she will snuggle up and, can I put this on? Yesterday she asked me if she could put the day before, I don't know, whether she could put the sweater on because it was so beautiful, and then she will, just like stroke it and be in awe. I think she's a very knit-worthy person, and yay for me for that. Okay, so that tea got cold, but it's so sweet at the end that I didn't want to miss that. Okay, I'm going to put this away. Ow. Okay, that's where the yarn is. Hold on. I'm going to put this away, and it's a little baggy. And again, like I did several times before, I'm just using my London Review of Books tote bag for that. I love tote bags as project bags because you can just so easily carry them with you, or hang them on your chair or whatever, so they don't really take up that much space. That's kind of the project bags that I use mostly, I have to say. Depending on the project, but okay. And now, this is now a bit of a tale of woe. So I have knit, but then again, it was so much smaller. So I have knit one of those shawls before, and this is it. You may already see the problem. But so here I used, my other color is an Isaiah, Alpaca 2 in their like eco line where it's undyed. It's just a natural color. And that I held that double as well, but it ended up being exactly the same weight as the white alpaca. Again, this is so soft like you would not believe. And I have made this, you know, with this brown yarn, which is not my color at all. I used this as a contrasting color in my Velcro vest, which I no longer am in possession of because I gifted it to my friend. Hi, Clancy. This is the leftovers of that yarn. Because it was just not my colors at all, and I think it really suits her, so I gifted it to her. And that's what I did with that. So I did exactly the same recipe. I striped this, but you can tell this is the other shawl is going to be much bigger, which now I think yay, because I love a huge big shawl, especially if it's like so soft. And then went into the 2x2, and then I'm going to show you into this lace pattern. And I mean, this is a very simple lace pattern, right? This is super easy. And that's how, I mean, can you see how you go from the 1x1 to the 2x2 and basically to a 4x4 kind of, because again, the space is double, right? Do you know what I mean? So the light and the dark ridges would then make up those two ridges and the lace, because the lace portion I think is just almost then double the height. Like it's as high as two garter rows together. Not quite, but almost. So that's why I absolutely have to go back and insert the second garter ridge here, because I like that effect of double and double, right? It's a tiny little design element, but it is important to me. Okay, and what I did with this one, this was intended as a gift. I thought it would be so neat to just include an I-cord. That's what it's called. To include an I-cord edge as I knit it. And the thing is, yes, it's kind of a neat idea, but I just pulled on too tight. With an I-cord edge, you have to be super loose on the beginning of round every time, or it will just get too tight. And that's what happened. I mean, look at how deep this is and how you can really not, I thought it was going to be, I could rectify the situation with blocking, but that's not what happened. And when I try to put this around me, there's just these two little, what's that noise? These two little ends coming down, but this goes all the way down here. So this is weird. You cannot even really tie a knot. I mean, you can, but it's not so cool. And then you have all of this fabric. And I wanted to give this to a friend for her birthday, but then I didn't, because it felt like the shawl was not going to work, and I didn't want to just dump it on her and have her be like, thank you, but now what am I going to do with that shawl, and feel like obligated because it's handmade and blah, blah, blah. So I thought, no, this is just not going to work. Now that I have it on, it feels nice, but I don't know. I mean, tell you what you think. I think I would rather rip back. Then again, it's going to be so sad for all the work that went in there to go back. But what am I going to do with that one? I mean, if I don't even want to gift it because I think it doesn't make a good gift, I mean, I'm not going to use it. then what am I going to do with it? You know? Let me know what you think I should do with this shawl. If you have an opinion, feel free to share it and just leave it in comments. Okay, so that's what I finished. That's what I am knitting on monogamously, period. And I will not cast on anything else or pull out from hibernation until this shawl is done. But now I'm down to the last, not even quite 100 grams of this beautiful alpaca yarn. So it's going to be a matter of days, not weeks. So I'm going to just hang in there. But in the meantime, because you always plan, you know, you always want to think, okay, I'm knitting this now, but what will I knit next? I swatched, and such a half-hearted that's a mouthful, a half-hearted swatcher, but I did swatch, okay? And this, I mean, I want to knit a stripy sweater, and I think I want to knit 2 stripy sweaters, both out of non-superwash yarn. The one is Rauwerk, so that's a Bavarian. I don't know if the dyer team is from Bavaria, but the yarn is. I'm gonna pull that out and be quick so I can put it back in the bobbin. What's that noise? There's a weird noise here. So that's the ball band. Yeah, it's from Bavaria. And this is the colorway Lavender, and it's supposed to be a DK weight, but I think it's heavier. I mean, it says DK, but I would say it's worsted. Because to me, it's like the Cascade 220 that I knit my, you know, one of my sweaters out of. Goodness, what is it? Cold Breath? I think it's the Cold Breath sweater by Hobie Locatelli. And, oh, by the way, I'm going to put all the information to things that I talk about down below in the description box. So there's a little arrow and it says more. And if you click on that, then this, entire menu will open up for you. And that's where I'm going to leave the links to my Instagram and my Ravelry. And if you want to send me an email, and my Ko-fi page, and also my Ravelry pages for the individual projects. Okay, so if you have anything you want to look up, it should all be down there. Okay, I forgot to say that in the beginning, like I almost always do. So I swatched with this beautiful yarn in the colorway Lavender, and I hope you can see in this light that is kind of so but I hope you can see that it's like a really dark, rich purple, almost blue, or blue almost purple, whichever way you want to look at this. Like here it looks very blue. Before I felt it looked very like the bluest purple, kind of. And I swatched, I left, I did not cut the yarn because I think I'm most definitely going to need this for the sweater. I'm debating knitting the striped sweater. No, it's not called the stripes. Oh goodness, what is this? This I'm going to put on the screen or in the description box, or both. Stripe Pipe sweater. It's called the Stripe Pipe sweater. Yes, no idea who the designer is, but the Stripe Pipe sweater. But I think my gauge is not going to work with that, for that. I mean, you can always do the math, but I think I was considerably off, like by 5 or 6 stitches, so that I thought maybe I had better go for a different pattern, I swatched and included like my little yarn overs down here. So this was a 4mm needle, and this, I did the yarn overs wrong, I forgot one. This is a 3.5. I like the fabric of the 3.5 better, even though there's hardly a difference. I mean, it looks different, but in the stitch count, there isn't really a difference, interestingly enough. But anyway, so that was one option. Then I thought this would be the next sweater I cast on. But then there was this sort of the issue with the gauge. And I thought, am I in the right, place mentally to sort that out? But I really wanted to knit that pattern. But also I really wanted to knit with that yarn. Am I going to freestyle it? But if so, how? You know, that was everything that was going on, even before I got ill. Or is that right? Yeah, I think that's right. And then, yeah, I'm sure, and that's right. That was before. But then after, I thought of another bag of yarn that I had put together initially for a different project, but just recently, just a few weeks ago. But it was a whole bunch of this color. Oh goodness, what's it called? Jameson and Smith 2-ply jumper weight. And now I'm sorry, I don't know the colorway now. I don't know the number of the color. But it will make a comeback on the show, and then you will see. So that's another little swatch that I knit. So that was the color I have 6 or 7 skeins of. I mean, they're 25 grams, so it absolutely would have to be a striped sweater because otherwise this would not be enough. But I have a bunch of this color, and I pulled out all sorts of leftovers and mini skeins in very similar yarn qualities, like also non-superwash, also a sort of heavy fingering weight or like sport weight, something like that. Like Rama Finil and other things that I had from swabs and advent calendars and just from what my mother-in-law gave me because she had leftovers, and I have no idea what that is, but that's the same sort of quality and weight. So I had just assembled, you know, everything, and I thought maybe that would be a good stripe type sweater, but then I would not be able to go for the 1x1 sequence like red, white, or whatever throughout the entire garment, but I would have to have like a green stripe and a different color, and then a green and a different, like a third color, and then a green and then a fourth color, and you know, go back and forth. And that could also be fun. Could be very fun. But I would be kind of I'm a little bit on the fence about pairing this with colors that are too dark, so that there isn't enough contrast. And you can do that, it's fine. I'm just worried that it doesn't look that good. Also, I mean, for what I have in mind. And also, I don't know, I wish I bought a green that leaned a little more blue, because this, I mean, now in this darkness where I'm sitting, to me it looks quite blue. But I don't know, in real life, I don't know if it's really my sort of green. Then again, what am I going to do with that? You know, I want to use it for something. It was intended for a garment, so why not make it into a garment? I mean, the world is going to keep on turning. Even if there isn't enough blue in this green, I can still wear the sweater and be happy or give it to someone. But well, anyway, I swatched. This is just sort of like my thought process that you're following here, even if I don't know if you're so keen on that. So I swatched with a 3.5 and a 4mm needle again. So this is the 4, this is the 3.5. I do see a difference. Or do I? Because I was so good and I swatched in the round, but I don't see a lot of a difference. I don't see a huge difference. It's kind of like with this one. It's there and it's not, but this is not washed yet, as you can tell, because it's so crumply. So I'm gonna have to just, because I finished this like, I don't know, the day before yesterday or something like that, I'm just going to give this a soak and then just pin it down and look at what it looks like and count. No, this was 3.5 and a 3mm needle. Yeah. Because I had to go digging for the 3mm needle, like you do, you know. So that's another contender for a new cast on that I'm still insecure about, but maybe because I haven't really paired it with the right pattern yet, and also very excited for, because I really want to knit up all of those yarns, and I think they're going to work. I just have to dedicate a bit more time to like really planning this project, and I'm not doing that now because I am still committed to my shawl project, and I'm really eager to get it off my needles. In not super fast, but just so in a timely manner so that I can, well, A, wear it, but B, can just get rid of that project on my mind, right? That's the main reason why I don't want to cast on something else too early, especially a sweater project, which tends to carry you away, right? That's what it's there for. But that's what I don't want right now. So I want to dedicate the time that it needs to that project, that it takes, to that project until it's finished. And then, enjoy the moment of, I can let this go. This long-term project is no longer on my mind. I don't sort of have to finish that. I mean, you don't ever have to, but if you want to, you kind of sort of have to pick it up eventually, right? And this is now supposed to be it. I don't want it sitting there anymore. And yeah, so I was like a good planner in a way, so that I knit my swatches ahead of time, but with plenty of time, and will then be able to do the math and decide on a pattern. And because that's what I absolutely dislike, is when you are ready to cast on and eager, and right this minute, right then and there, you want to print out the pattern and get going, but then you have to swatch. And then you have to wash the swatch and let it dry and count, and then decide it's not going to work with that, needle size or that yarn or blah, blah, blah. And then the entire momentum goes away. That's what you really don't want. Okay. And then I dug out my spinning wheel for the first time since we moved. And because, interestingly, now that I think about it, because of a similar reason to why I pulled out this shawl project, because it was kind of in the way. Not the spinning wheel, that has its place, but because I had many bags of the wool that I'm spinning up. And for the move, it was kind of good because it helped me. I could, stuff that into like boxes of books, so that you have something lighter to put out like on top. But when you unpack and you're left with a handful of bags of wool that you're not going to spin up, then you start packing a new box just for that, and you put it in the corner and blah, blah, blah. And since either I put it away in like the room where we still have a handful of boxes standing there and I won't find it again when I need it, or I put it someplace else and it's sort of hidden in plain sight, but then it's in your way, and that's what happened. So I thought at some point I want to get rid of this standing around, but the only way out is through, sort of like with everything in life. So I thought, okay, I want to get rid of this clutter, because that's what it's become, those bags of wool in a box, but in our dining room, right? And then I thought, I'm going to just have to spin that and apply it and then wash it and then have it be ready. And it's then, take it to a home where it can stay in a cupboard. And then once I feel like I know what I want to do with that yarn, because it's quite a lot, it's going to be a lot in the end, then I can, take it out and make it into a sweater or whatever. Or a blanket might be nice. I don't know. And I still had 1.5, I want to say, spools full of singles from this very wool. So that the yarn that I now spun, but that I had spun back in Berlin when we lived there. So, and we moved in October. So that would have been on the, even would have been on the spool unplied for about half a year. So I don't know what it's called in English, but in German you say schlafender Drall, so sleeping twist or something like that. So when you leave your singles on this spool for too long, the twist is going to do funny stuff. And then like what I learned is you have to put it in the skein and then wash it so that the twist kind of snaps back, and let it dry, and then you can ply it together, and then you're gonna wash it again, and then you're gonna have to dry it again, obviously, and then you got your yarn. And that's what I did. I hope that's right, but that's what I learned on YouTube from a German spinner. And that's what I tried. I mean, I think I think I can tell that this has been on the spool for so long. And I think what I did was, because oh man, this is all over the place. I'm so sorry. But in the meantime, I plied. So last week, I spun an entire big spool full of yarn. I hope spool is even the right word, but I think it is. No. What's that called? Like those things on the, you know what I mean, on the spinning wheel. A spool? Or is that from sewing? A bobbin? A bobbin might be the right word, right? You know what I mean. And I had another one of those full of yarn, but like a newly spun. And so I plied together one of the older ones with this new one because I didn't have enough bobbins to maneuver around. I only have 3, which is kind of a problem. You need more. And you need at least 4. I think better would be, like 6 would be better. Definitely. It's kind of an older wheel, and I don't know. I have to do research on whether other bobbins will fit on there, and I haven't done that. So I plied those together is what I'm trying to say here, and that's what came out. I have this little skein, which is 48 grams, and then I have another which is 118 grams, and together it's like, what does that make? Why did I even go there? So now I have to do the math. I think it's like about 175, something like that, neighbor, 76. Yeah. And so a decent amount of yarn, but there was way more coming. So I have no idea what I'm going to make with that. In the past, I've set maybe a cardigan in a size that everyone in the family can wear, and maybe insert a little color work yoke. We'll see. Anyway, so I'm going to try and show this up close, and yeah, I know I like it. It feels, well, a little rustic, but also soft enough so that you can make a sweater out of it. It looks a bit all over the place, but I'm a very new spinner. I hope you can see that. I'm a very new spinner. This is only like my, I think fifth and 6th skein that I've ever plied. So this is also the only way I know how to ply. You can really tell how it's a bit messy, partly because it's been like an old single, and also partly because the new single that I spun was the first one in, like, I want to say 6 months or something like that. So that's a long time for me, but I'm happy with the way it turned out. I mean, it's not too bad. I hope you can see that. And it's yarn. So I made some yarn. So that's a success. And I'm learning as I go. And also, I'm not precious with this wool. So this is only there for me to really practice and get more even with my spinning, and maybe not wait 6 months to, for the next bobbin to be spun. Maybe that's also part of the trick, to get more even and more like a better spinner. It's a lot of fun though, and I try now to spin a little bit every day or every other day, because it's also, again, like with crocheting, it's such a strain on my shoulders. I spun a whole bunch in one day, and that was not a good idea for my shoulders. So if I manage to give it 10-15 minutes every day, I will work through that pile of wool, eventually over spring, maybe, I don't know. Hard to estimate, but yes, that could work. And then that would be a manageable sort of amount of spinning every day for me, both with regard to time and, energy, like what my neck provides or can, deal with. And so that is sort of what I plan on doing. I don't know if I'm gonna go through with that. Now that's what sounds very fun to me. And it's really a practicing spin for me. It's not about an amazing outcome. I'm really relaxed about how the individual plies look, and I know that as I keep spinning, the individual plies, so the individual skeins, are going to look different, right? They're not going, because I'm not there yet that I can spin and plan on it being a DK weight or plan on it being a fingering weight. It just is whatever it turns out to be, because I'm very much a newbie spinner. This, I would say, is sort of a sport weight to DK weight, and I'm absolutely okay with that. I mean, I'm absolutely okay with the yarn being whatever it is, whatever comes off the spinning wheel, I'm gonna welcome into the family and just move on to the next. This is wool that someone gave to me back in Berlin because they had it and they wouldn't ever use it. It was from a friend, and she said he's not going to spin it, but it's all prepared, like it's carded and everything. So all you have to do is really spin it. I have no idea what the fiber is, but it's quite pleasant to work with. And I don't know what sheep breed that is and where it comes from and nothing, but she gave it to me. It was a huge amount of wool, and and so I'm excited to just use that to practice, and I don't have to be precious with that, and I don't have to fuss about it, and whatever it turns out to be, will be worked up for something eventually, and I don't have to stress about it. So that is really fun. But I am also dreaming of, not dreaming of, but I have my eye on one or two, whatever they're called, rovings, of wool from a hand dyer in Germany who's currently selling at a shop that I think, that would be fun. They look really, really, really beautiful. She's really beautiful colors. And I would also omit, this is all this color. Again, a sort of a color I don't know that I will want to wear it all that much. But I might dye it. Because why not? I could, again, I may use those skeins of hand-dyed yarn to practice dyeing. I'm not precious about those, but it is fun to also, because I've done it in the past and I know how gratifying it is to spin with this beautiful hand-dyed, these rovings, right? Or bats or whatever you call those, braids. I think all of those are different. I don't really know that's how much of a newbie spinner I am, but I bought fibers twice, and I thought spinning with them was just such joy because of the colors and just the beauty, just the colors and the color therapy of it all. And I think the yarn that came out is quite nice as well. Maybe it had a little too much twist. Maybe now I'm thinking this does not quite have enough twist. I don't know. I'm going to have to learn and just try it out. But I think, when are adults ever in a situation where they really embrace having to learn something? Because we so often want to pretend like we know everything and we have everything down. And I think that's what makes people seem old sometimes, that they are no longer looking for something new. And they seem so overly settled and so sure of themselves. I'm like, how can you be so sure of you? Like, how can you pretend to be to have arrived in your life and, be such a boss of everything in your life? I don't think that can be true. And then I sometimes think that's when people really think, like, don't conceive of themselves as learners anymore. And I think it's so important that my kids see me be in a learning position. Like, for example, I only just got my driver's license before we moved here, because I never had one, because I never had to have one. Because in Germany, in Berlin, you don't need a car, right? And so I never had one, and neither did my mother. So I grew up without a car, and we never drove a car, really. So I had to get my driver's license for our move. And I think it's a good thing that my kids see me learning a new skill. And that was, also hard for me, not because driving is hard per se, but because I really was not keen on learning how to drive a car. I don't like traffic. I don't like cars at all, And so I think it's still a good thing that they see me, go through that, and also struggle a little bit with that, and see me make progress, not process. See me make progress and do things that I have shied away from in the past, or drive places where I'm like, oh, I don't know, I've never driven there before, but okay, let's try, and then be happy that I made it, or something like that, And the same with spinning. I think it's good for my kids to see me as a learner, so that they're not mistaken about like how life is going to be. Yes, they're going to learn so many things and eventually have them down, but there's always going to be things that they will not have a clue of, and that's going to be okay and fun. It can be fun, and you can embrace it and just relax about it, and say, okay, I'm going to have to figure that out. And I think it's important that we sort of model that to our kids, not just because it's hard for us as adults to embrace the not knowing, but also because I don't even want them to grow up with the expectation that one day they're going to have everything down, because this day is just not going to come. And then people sometimes get very frustrated with themselves, right? And I don't think that's good. We shouldn't, try and pretend like we have our act together totally and completely, because nobody does. Anyway, so that's the story behind this yarn, and that's also why I'm so relaxed about it. And it's just fun. It's just so fun. And also, I don't think that I'm going to be such an amazing spinner. Maybe the day will come, but maybe it won't. I thought spinning was going to be so easy, and it is. You twist yarn, and that's that, But I don't know. There are so many ways. Like, how do you make a woolen spun yarn? How can there be different plies? How will that work? And I don't really dedicate enough time to that, but I will, step by step, and I know that that's how it works. And eventually you look back and you're like, oh, I've come quite far in that process, but now I feel like I don't know anything at all except how to work my spinning wheel and produce a 2-ply. But that isn't too shabby, so I'm going to just take it from here and be patient with myself and with the yarn that comes out. And I think it's beautiful. I adore it. Even if it really, or maybe because it is so telling of, where I am with that. But I'm struggling with perfectionism, but I'm not at all a perfectionist when it comes to spinning. And that's what makes it so enjoyable for me, because I don't have the expectation that I'm going to be a pro. That is probably going to be a big chunk of that. Good thing that I talked about this. So now I have this clear in my mind. Okay, so I think this is everything knitting wise. The one thing that I still wanted to like recommend to you is the podcast that I listened to, discovered while I was ill, and I've continued listening because I think it's really amazing. I really love it. It's the Novel Pairings podcast by Chelsea and Sarah. I don't know their last names now, but it's Chelsea Reads on Instagram and Sarah of Fiction Matters on Instagram. So I've been following them along for a while on Instagram for years, but I never realized that they had a podcast out. And I listen to it on Spotify. I think you can listen to it wherever. And then they have newsletters and a Patreon that I have not checked out, but I think it's amazing. And they have, what's that app where you can upload newsletters basically with an S? Oh man, Substack. They have a Substack offering of some sort that I haven't really sorted through yet that exists. So it's out there for you if you're interested. And they have this podcast. So, and they talk about books. And you can see how I really didn't follow them along as closely on Instagram because I never realized that they had this podcast. And apparently I never really read the captions, or I don't know. Anyway, so I just stumbled across that and thought, oh, that's going to be interesting. And it was perfect for when I was ill because it was new and interesting enough so that it would keep me engaged, but also not so complicated that I would not be able to follow, right? And I mean, I'm an English major. I have a PhD in English, so I think accessing what they're talking about was, relatively easy for me. Also, I listened to different episodes on books that I know. So that takes away a lot of the stress of, following along of, okay, so this is a book I haven't read. Oh, apparently that's what happens, and that's what happens, and that's how it's written, and so on. So I didn't have to do that. They're going through many classics, and they're trying to relate the classics to today's literary landscape and also just to our lives and why read the classics now and so on. It's a beautiful podcast. I think I'm very late to the party, but maybe you are too. And if you don't know that podcast yet and you're into literature, then, I mean, English literature in that case, English and American fiction, then definitely check that out. It's a really a joy to listen to both of them, even though I can hardly tell their voices apart. What they do is sort of, in one episode they explain is public scholarship. So what they do is they try to relate literary concepts and how you read literature through an academic lens, or like they say, like with their English teacher personalities, and relate that to the audience that does not have to be academic or from the humanities or even have studied English, but so everyone who listens will be able to understand and follow their sort of methods or their readings and relate to what they say and relate what they explain to the novel if they've read it too, because they announce beforehand what they're going to read throughout, I don't know, this coming spring, and then you can decide to maybe pick up one of the books so that you're going to be able to follow along better. Or on their Patreon, they have really like in-depth classes and stuff. Sorry, I had to get up, and there was a bug in the apartment and get that out. Not apartment, in the house. But that, flew against the window, so I had to just run and put it out in the fresh air. Okay, so now I completely forgot what I said, but so this podcast is amazing. If you're interested in going a bit deeper into your reading and just learning some methods or skills or like lenses that you can look through at, whatever it is that you're reading, or if you also just want to be entertained and listen to that, it's lighthearted enough so that's really entertaining. but it offers you glimpses that can take you further into the, reading if you want to do that. And the two of them are really a delight to listen to. So that's what I listened to, and I was completely I was really happy to discover that podcast, because I have been struggling when I did my PhD in English with that, with how competitive the academic field was, or also people are very encouraging or have, what I experienced in English and American studies. Everybody was very encouraging and very interested, but also very dominant with their research method. And then people kept, almost like interfering in other people's work, being like, why do you read it that way? Why is that not, the thing that you're focusing on? Or why didn't you pick up this author but that one? And so that was sometimes meant as constructive criticism, but also a show of their own dominance and of how well they have chosen their topics and their research interests and whatnot. And I don't know. I loved being a scholar. I loved working at university and teaching at university. I loved that. And until I didn't, because of exactly that, because of a climate where I think there is a lot of competition, there is a lot of evaluating other people's work all day long, right? And with that public scholarship that Sarah and Chelsea referred to, and that what they also practice, I think, with their podcast and certainly their Patreon, is that, you can do research and you can be a scholar, but relate whatever it is that you're doing and thinking about and finding out to a different audience in a different way. That takes away this element of competition and of pressure and of evaluating everything, and of also showcasing, I'm the one who's got it all figured out because my research method is this, and I, am sort of the better scholar, because that's what many people are saying between the lines. And don't get me wrong, I really loved being an active academic in my field, and going to conferences and listen to everyone's research and their talks. I really love that, and I sometimes also miss that. But this element of public scholarship is very convincing too, where your audience is just different, wider, not as soiled with everything from that field, and where you can relate your topics and your research, I think, in a different way, with less pressure and more fun, for lack of a better word now, more ease and more enthusiasm. Maybe that's more it, where you can be enthusiastic about something without immediately and inevitably being scolded for that, because you should have done something else, and why didn't you also? And so the joy of reading is really at the center, as opposed to the joy of taking apart everybody's work. Also, excuse me, because I've talked about this for so long. I know this is a knitting podcast, but this is something I am, as a literature scholar, extremely passionate about, and very happy to have, stumbled across that format, I want to say. I think that's all I wanted to say today. So thank you so much for tuning in, for hanging with me for a bit, or allowing me to hang out with you. If you feel like it, feel free to like and subscribe below. Leave a comment as to what I should do with my shawl. This one? Should I take it back out or leave it as it is, or what should I do? If you have an opinion, I very much welcome it. And I will try my best to be back here soon talking to you. And I hope I will have a finished object to show you and a new sweater cast on, or maybe something else. I don't know. And until then, happy knitting. Enjoy transitioning into whichever season is coming your way. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.